Hello, and welcome back to the madness. So, we have a little special thing here going today. Well, for the next 4 days, we have a storybook countdown to Christmas. So, on December 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, you will be hearing stories. I'm diamond painting, and wonderful Rebecca is reading the stories for us. So, Becca, would you like to tell us what's the first story that you're going to read for us?
Today's story is Lost in Florida at Christmas. Sorry. Shall I begin?
Yep.
Jingle bells playing over the pool speakers seemed out of place in the 80-degree heat. My brother and I dived into the pool and tried hard to suppress any sad memories we might be having. The multicolored Christmas lights blinking on and off around the pool deadened the Christmas spirit for these two New York boys, which was exactly what my father had hoped the trip to Florida might accomplish. You see, my mother had died 2 days before Christmas the previous year, and we were doing our best to avoid the first full Christmas season without her. Sitting on the edge of the pool, I let the sun dry me off. It felt good on my face. It was Christmas in Fort Lauderdale, and the first time we had been out of the New York, New Jersey area in our entire lives. I have to tell you, if you've never experienced Christmas outside of a cold climate, walking past Christmas trees and decorations in shorts and no shirt is a very strange experience, especially for the first time. Because we lived in the north, Florida had always seemed exotic, and the place we were staying at the Polynesian village added to that impression. Palm trees adorned with Christmas lights surrounded the pool, and small bamboo huts offered drinks, towels, and sunscreen. Tropical flowers, bushes, trees, and the strong sunshine further enhanced the exotic feel. Inside, the hotel workers were dressed in Hawaiian shirts and dresses. A large fish pond in the small lobby contained large tropical fish. By contrast, the dark restaurant was lined with bamboo booths. My brother, 2 sisters, and I were sharing a room. Mike was 19 at the time. I was 17. My sisters were 10 and 15. Our 21-year-old brother was spending Christmas in New Orleans, so he was not with us. We moved in quickly and emptied our suitcases, packed 2 full of clothing we would never wear. We had an additional travel companion, my father's partner in crime, Daniel Cody. At the time, we thought the 2 men's antics and sometimes illegal behavior were cool. My brother and I were trying hard to convince ourselves that we were budding gangsters and that Daniel and my father could teach us the ropes. In actuality, they were nothing more than grifters. As lost as the kids they were supposed to be chaperoning. Mike, who was as tough as nails when it came to fighting, was one of the most sensitive people I've ever known. But he spent his life trying hard to hide that vulnerability from the outside world. As his younger brother, though, I was not a threat. I do not think he felt the need to hide these emotions from me. Anyway, we were in Florida, attempting to pretend that we were just a family on vacation, and not the lost souls that we had been feeling like for the past year. Although I didn't understand it at the time, we were in the process of changing our orbits. If we removed the sun, the planets would spiral out of control into darkness. We didn't yet realize that our mother had been our sun, and that our family was beginning a journey into the darkness. Florida at Christmas time was intended to slow our spiral. Mike and I were planning to follow in our father's and Daniel's footsteps. We dressed sharp, had attitudes, and thought we were extremely attractive to women. We talked about making scores that would put more money in our pockets, phony credit cards, pyramid schemes, and stolen artwork. These were some of the possibilities, but we had no idea how to actually carry them out. Execution was not important, though. The possibility of adventure, the thought of what might come, was the real goal, even if it was only in our minds. Our plans for the first night were to use our fake IDs to get into one of the fancy disco clubs lining the beach and canals. Music from the Bee Gees was all over the radio, and we did our best to look like John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever before leaving the hotel for the night spots. The night started perfectly well. The fake IDs were working, and every place we hit allowed us in. As Staying Alive played, we laughed and goofed around, acting more like the teenagers we were than the slick young men we were trying to impersonate. We danced with older women and drank screwdrivers, impressed with the size of the club. The elbow room had one large bar on the patio that overlooked a swimming pool and the beach. After several drinks and a few dances, we sat at the edge of the crowded bar, surprised that none of these people had to go home. After all, it was Christmas Eve. Our conversation switched from chasing women to our opinions of what each member of the family was going through. You can run from some things in your life, but no matter how hard you try, you cannot run from yourself, or where you come from. Deep in our souls, we were our mother's sons. The seed of faith that she had planted when we were little boys would always help create the best in us. It would be our strongest asset. And although it would take years and many painful journeys to realize this truth, our faith would always be the home we went back to find. We each ordered another drink and became silly with good humor as we listened to Thelma Houston singing "Don't Leave Me This Way." We went back and forth between laughing and having fun and wondering whether coming to Florida had been a good choice. We knew that the hotel room had no Christmas decorations and that our younger sisters would not have any gifts to open on Christmas morning, even though they knew that before we came to Florida, the vacation itself was supposed to be the gift. Mike and I could not help but feel they would be disappointed. The music and noise in the bar seemed to disappear as memories of that final afternoon in December muffled all the sounds around us. Life had not been the same for the 12 months since Mom died, and we did not anticipate getting back to any kind of normalcy anytime soon. It was December 23rd on a very cold winter afternoon when we drove across the Red Bank Bridge that took us to Riverview Hospital, where our mother was losing her battle with cancer. Mike and I had gone out earlier in the day to buy our mom a gold cross. She had wanted it for the last 4 Christmases, but never got it. In retrospect, I guess buying a gift for a dying woman was an odd thing to do. But when you're among the living, you never quite accept that a person is going to die, no matter how much time you spend by his or her deathbed. In some primal way, I think people need to be able to please the dying person, or at the very least, send them off with some last act of love because they cannot save them. After a year and a half of feeling helpless, this was a small way of fighting back. By the time we arrived in her room, our mother was struggling for her last breath. Here, on this night in Florida, we all remembered things about those last minutes differently. Mike remembered that my dad, my uncle, and I had been standing around the bed, afraid to do anything. He didn't remember me getting really upset and leaving the room, or my dad trying and coming out to comfort me. He thought we were all at her bedside when she died, but I remembered feeling guilty because I had been so overwhelmed that I started to sob and crawled out of the room. My dad came out and walked me around the hall. We were about to head back to the room when I heard a commotion because Mike kicked out the glass where the fire extinguisher was kept. It was at that moment I knew Mom had passed. We both remembered standing outside my mother's hospital room. My dad, Mike, and I just holding on to each other and crying. Neither one of us remembered much after that. The bartender yelled, "Last call!" and we decided we didn't need any more to drink. Outside, the warm Florida air was in total contrast to the stark December afternoon now haunting us. A key piece to the puzzle of our lives had been removed, and we would spend the next 10 years trying to replace it with alcohol, drugs, violence, and all their bad choices. We walked along the canal thinking about the last months of our mother's lives. The memories were right there at our fingertips, like a photo album ready to open. Little by little, we turned the pages to relive the pain and maybe exorcise a few demons. We talked of how wonderful Christmas had been always in our house. No matter what circumstances, our mother could always pull things magically out of her sleeve to make the season special. We now realized that Christmas would represent a dictum for us from this point forward. Somehow we would have to make a choice. Would Christmas represent sadness and death? Or would we be able to tap into the joy of the season and the love we once shared as a family during the season? Knowing this, we tiptoed into the past, choosing the Christmases filled with joy and happiness, avoiding the last Christmas that changed it all. Remember the year we got the pool table, or the year it snowed and we really had a white Christmas? How about the first year in the house, all of us sitting around the fireplace, singing Christmas carols, drinking hot chocolate? We walked for a walk in silence, both of us thinking about our own times with her, both fighting tears, each trying to be strong for the other. But the road to this Christmas led us back to last December, with its bare trees, hard ground, and cold air. Florida could not prevent the inevitable. We were going back to a room without a sign of the current Christmas season, instead with only the pain of Christmas past. The pharmacy on the corner sold everything you could imagine: groceries, bath products, perfume, and candy. As we stood outside the front door, Mike decided that we should spend our remaining money on Christmas presents for our little sisters. There was no argument from me. Inside, the place felt surreal. Elevator Christmas music was piped in over the speakers, and the only other customers at 2 in the morning on Christmas Eve were insomniacs and other lost souls. Mike and I walked around the store picking up bath gel, candy, curling irons, cheap perfume, and wrapping paper. We spent all the money we had saved for Florida. Back at the hotel, we asked the clerk whether we could borrow some tinsel and ornaments from the tree in the lobby. When we told him about our sisters upstairs, he said, "Take what you want." We joked about dragging the entire Christmas tree into the elevator and upstairs to the room, but thought better of it. In the morning, the girls woke up to wrapped presents, surrounded by tinsel and candy. We laughed long and hard at some of the presents we had come up with. In the end, we realized that Christmas is really about the people you love. What is important is sharing it, not the quality of the presents. Give me the 10 people I love most in the world and keep the presents. As the years moved on, Mike and I often discussed how the road can make you stumble, and how, if you get the chance, you need to set things straight. Mike is gone now, and like most of us, he did his share of falling. But in the end, he became a good man, struggling to do what was right. I guess that night was a moment in the journey when we were temporarily lost in Florida at Christmas. Eventually, we would find our way home. The end.
And that is Lost in Florida. We hope you guys enjoyed it.